We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/match. Just go to Indeed.com/match right now and support this show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/match. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Let your imagination soar with Audible. With stories across every genre, from expert advice to fantasy, you'll be inspired to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. Listening can even lead to a positive change in your mood, habits, and overall well-being. As an Audible member, you'll get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog, including bestsellers and new releases. Allow yourself to delve into the spooky this season by listening to classics like Stephen King's The Shining and Pet Sematary. There's more to imagine when you listen. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text imagine to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text imagine to 500-500.
This is In the Loop with Jack Blake, an Indy 11 podcast. We bring you an insight into the lives of professional athletes with an emphasis on the mental side of sports.
Welcome to episode 6 of In the Loop. I'm your host, Jack Blake. Today's episode, I'm really excited for. Someone who is a former teammate of mine and is fresh off a Europa League stint at Kilmarnock FC, Mr. Kyle Vassell. Welcome to the show, mate.
So just a teammate, not a friend, not. That's it, yeah. All right, fair enough. No friends in football now.
How are we, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. So you are in Kilmarnock, Scotland, playing in the Premier Division up there.
Yeah.
How's that been for you, mate? You've been there a couple of years?
It's been wicked, mate. I really enjoy it here. Football's a really good level. You get to play against the old firm 6 times a year. And the travel is decent and yeah, it's good. It's good, mate.
I remember, wasn't your debut for Kilmarnock away to Celtic? Was that right?
My debut, I went my first game. So bearing in mind, I hadn't played for 3 months because obviously we finished in the USL, and then so I hadn't played a game of football. My first, I had 60 minutes away at Celtic. I played 80 minutes at Hampden in the semi-final of the Cup, and then I had Rangers at home. They're my first 3 games of football. So it was a easy way to break myself into Scottish football.
So you mentioned you played in the US. What was being back in the UK like style-wise? So what was your first impression of Scottish Prem football? What was it like?
I couldn't believe how physical it was. Obviously, after playing in League 2, League 1, which are quite physical leagues, the Scottish Prem for me was really physical. So I had to kind of acclimatise and adapt because the USL is not like that at all. It's not physical at all. It's far more technical. And then it was just more that teams. It's just the way teams are set up and the way the league's set up is like there's a lot of pressure, a lot more publicity. So there's interviews all week. The press are in all week, stuff like that. But other than playing, there's a lot of boys who play League 2, League 1 and come up to Scotland and vice versa. So, it was nothing that I wasn't used to or hadn't kind of played them before, but I didn't realise how physical it was going to be.
Yeah, and you got the skipper's armband, didn't you, there, mate? You got
after 6
been
months.
On the bicep curl since that, or what?
Yeah, I did them. I did the bicep curls all summer when I found out. Tried to get my arms bigger. Look, I've always, as I kind of said in kind of interviews over here as well, I've always sort of been a leader anyway. So for the manager to ask me was obviously a privilege, and I was delighted, and it was a no-brainer really. It's just kind of the next progression for me in my career, and I'm really enjoying it.
Mate, I was doing some research on you last night.
Yeah. How long did that take? One night.
It took me a while with the amount of clubs you've had, lad.
Jesus.
But Kilmarnock's you've made the most appearances for any club you've played at has been Kilmarnock. I got you down bagging 18 goals, 8 assists. Why do you think Kilmarnock's been?
Have I made more here than Blackpool?
Yes, I have you down 71 at Blackpool.
Oh, so then it would have been, and I've made more here, have I? Yeah.
Just overtaken it.
Oh, that's
according
decent.
to
That's not bad.
sources online.
That's not bad. That in what, less than 2 seasons?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because the gaffer's just said, look, go play. Just go play football. He believes in me, trusts in me. He knows that, look, we can't all be at it every week. I'm the first to say I'm not 8, 9 out of 10 every week. But the at my very worst, I give him everything I've got. I work my hardest, and I try and I say at the very worst, do a job for the team, put myself about, and I think he appreciates that, and I think he can trust me. So he, I've got a really good relationship with him, and that's kind of what led to me getting the armband. And then it was the same thing at Blackpool. The manager just trusted me, and I say I've just overtaken it now, but I played. If I was fit, I played, and that allowed me to play some really good football and get into really good, form. And I guess if I'd have done another season at San Diego, I probably would have had those numbers as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the other clubs I played at, I was kind of always in and out, which is why I kind of didn't hang around too long.
So before we get into the journey over to the States, because I think that's always fascinating for English lads how they get over here. Born in Milton Keynes, what was it like for you growing up near London? How was living in London, growing up there? What was that like?
So I grew up, yeah. So I was born in Milton Keynes, but I'd moved to London before I was even one. So I was literally a baby in London. Growing up in London was amazing. It was unbelievable because there was everything on my doorstep. I was never bored. I was always out of the house, either playing football or either, going cinema, bowling, whatever with my friends. Even if I was probably at a younger age, kind of up to no good, doing some shenanigans, but never too malicious, but just silly things. But it was wicked. My best mate from growing up lived around the corner, and he was a really good footballer as well. He played for Tottenham. So we just played football all the time, literally till the sun went down. And if it was dark early in the winter, we'd just play under the subway, under the lights. So yeah, it was wicked.
I think
I appreciate it.
The biggest compliment I play you as a footballer, and I'm so happy we got to play together, mate. You are probably the most ambidextrous footballer I've ever come across. You hit it right foot, left foot. I honestly, when you first came to San Diego, I didn't know if you were right foot or left footed. Do you think that's contributed growing up in the streets, or do you think
100%, 100%? That was also my coach when I was a young boy, Sunday League. He challenged me because I think I'd scored, I don't know, hat tricks for about three weeks in a row, and he then challenged me. All right, your next match, only left foot, and I was bad. But then I did it in a school match the following week, and I scored another hat trick. And then from then I just worked on it. And yeah, that's it. It's just a time, repetition. And nice compliment. What foot do you think I am? What would you say I am?
I would honestly say you are left-footed.
I'm right-footed. I was born right-footed.
Damn. See, I still don't even know, mate.
Born right-footed.
Yeah, that's class.
Yeah.
So then your youth career, Norwich and Brentford, right?
Yeah.
What was your
after hundreds of trials, I went on trial at every club, got told no. Yeah. And then essentially I went to Norwich at under 16s. And then they kept me on for the 16s, but they didn't offer me a scholar. So I went to Brentford, and then after a couple of weeks on trial, got signed at Brentford and did my YT there.
So when you were in that moment, if you think back to when you were young and you got that rejection, what was that feeling, and then what then allowed you to get to Brentford, and how did you end up signing a professional? How did that happen? What was that like?
I didn't care, mate. Obviously I cared. Obviously it hurt, but I just then literally give me a day, and I'm like, right, I'll prove you wrong. And that's the mentality I had the whole way through. So I went on trial at Reading, I went on trial at Charlton, went on trial at Arsenal, went on trial at Tottenham. I had a couple more. Went on trial at Crewe at one stage. I think this is a little bit after this. Wimbledon, I went on trial. Got told no. I just
you get these opportunities to go on trial at these clubs? Like, how did that? Was that
because my Sunday League team was probably the best in London. The boys we had that ended up at pro clubs was unbelievable. Yeah, not unfortunately, not many of them have actually kind of had careers, but we won all the tournaments, we won the county cup, we won everything. Yeah, the only team that could ever beat us was a team called Waterloo, and they were basically a feeder club for Chelsea. Basically, all their boys always went to Chelsea. So yeah, we had really good publicity, and then obviously I got into the county team. I got scouted by Norwich playing for the county,
Right.
which was wicked. Me and another boy from my team, and as I say, I was back and forth there. I was staying overnight. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like being away from home, and I didn't give it everything, to be honest. I didn't fully commit to it, and I guess it just showed in my performances. And then I ended up inevitably got released, and then they put me into Brentford. To be fair, they were brilliant because they put me into Brentford. So so I got told I'm not getting a scholar on a Tuesday night, and on Thursday night I was training with Brentford. And then that was like maybe 6 weeks, and I got given my scholar.
So your scholarship at Brentford, our good friend Charlie Adams is another USL player that played.
A great guy, one of the best.
One of the best. Not one of the best hairlines though, but we'll.
He's doing well. He's doing better than us, mate. He's doing better than us. We'll give him that. He's not the biggest. He's not the biggest. Not got the most brawn, but he's got a good head of hair.
The bravest, mate. He's the bravest. The biggest,
Exactly.
the bravest. So, any good Brentford academy stories? Were you, when I think back to my Forest days?
Yeah.
I remember the early mornings cleaning boots, mate. That's the first thing I remember. What's the first thing you think of with your academy?
When I think of my academy days, it's more my manager, Darren Saul. He was like kind of a drill sergeant, really. It wasn't that old school, but in terms of, you just didn't allow any excuses. And for me, it was brilliant because I'd come from always making excuses. And even though I say I got released, and I want to prove people wrong, there was always a reason why I never got signed, and I'd blame it on this, and I'd tell people it was this reason, that reason. He was just so thorough. And we had to do boots, we had to do all the equipment, and if someone had messed up, so say for example, someone had to clean the changing rooms, and then he would come in, and before we could leave, he would check all the jobs, and there was probably 10 jobs we had to do. The changing rooms, someone had to clean the changing rooms, someone had to clean the gym, someone had to sweep all the outside. We had to make sure all the pros' boots were done. We had to clean the kitchen, other little bits and bobs as well. And then if something wasn't done, so there was one day I can remember in particular where someone hadn't done the kitchen, and the kitchen wasn't cleaned. So the next day we were normally in I think it was normally in at like 8 o'clock. Next day we was in at 6:30, and we were running the whole way around the pitch for a long time, except the person who didn't do their job. They had to just stand and watch.
Oh, that's
yeah.
brilliant.
So that was like a harsh reality, but it makes you learn responsibility, and you're not letting yourself down, you're letting everyone else down. So learn some good lessons there, and then we had some good fun, as you do in your academy days. We had some good banter, some really good banter.
Yeah. And then so leaving Brentford, you bounced around a lot in the non-league. Are there any good stories you can think of that were about non-league? Like, what was for people that don't know, they see the professional leagues in England. Obviously, it's a really good level, but there are so many semi-professional divisions below that.
Yeah.
You give us an insight into what it was like playing non-league.
So non-league was wicked, but the reason why I bounced around is because I was young. If I ever got taken out of the team, I didn't want to sit around. I'd just leave. And it was like, you never under professional, like proper contracts, you kind of just pay as you play type situation. So if I was sat on a bench for 2 weeks or more, I'd just say, right, I'm going to go to another club. But like, there's one time where I was at Chelmsford, and we were training obviously Tuesday, Thursday nights, and it was kind of getting into winter, and the pitch was frozen, and we'd all turned up. No one had let us know in advance. So maybe the manager didn't even know it would be frozen, but we'd all turned up. Like my car school in particular, we had to drive an hour and a half to get to training. So we just did jumpers for goalposts, and we trained on the car park, and it ended up being like a netball game. Like there was no dribbling, because it was so slippery, mate. Yeah. So we trained for about 40 minutes. Ended up saying token, called it off, and we went home. But we were training under car park lights on an icy thing, and that was when I was like, wow. And that was literally, I think it was not long after that I started applying for proper jobs, when I realised, this football thing might be a bit more difficult than I thought.
So when you were applying for jobs, what kind of jobs did you have?
Just bricklaying, just labour jobs, stuff I could do, stuff I'd done before. Things just regarding like construction and that.
Mate, that's
where my muscles are good at.
So then I would say you probably your first noticeable move was to Peterborough, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What division were they playing in when you made broke?
League One. They just got relegated from the champ, and they was in League One.
And so, what was your opportunity? How did you become to sign for Peterborough after playing non-league?
So this is just after the thing with Chelmsford. So that happened that season, and then I'm sure that was in the turn of the year. So that maybe happened in February, or whatever. End of that season. And by the way, that season with Chelmsford, we nearly got promoted. We lost in the player final to Salisbury to get promoted. And then in that summer, we was having financial problems at Chelmsford. We didn't get paid for. I think I didn't get paid for nearly 11 weeks. So I weren't staying there, and then I had met a manager called Rod Stringer, who was at Bishop Stortford. Went to sign for him. He put his arm around me, played me every week, and then 3 months. I think we had a FA Cup. So it was the first round of the FA Cup. So by November, I'd scored 17 goals, and then Peterborough came in, and it was done. It kind of, to be honest, it was kind of out of my hands. Really, the club just agreed. Obviously, I was never saying no to it. I went up to sign for Peterborough. And then the rest was history, really, mate.
So I got to ask you about first of all, I don't know if this is going to be your answer, but your most memorable game playing back in England, was it the playoff final at Wembley?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I knew you were going to say that, mate. So that was for Blackpool. Promoted from League One to Champ.
No, League Two to League One. This is when
Blackpool
were really, really going through some problems. The fans were all boycotting because they didn't like the chairman, probably rightly so. And so we had put it this way: 3 years before, they'd had the player finals go to the Prem. They had Blackpool had 38,000 fans. When we played I think it's maybe 4 seasons later, we had 6,000 fans because they just didn't want to turn up. They didn't want to give the chairman any money. But that's the most memorable day in my career for sure.
So you were playing against who?
Exeter, Ollie Watkins.
Ollie Watkins. Wow. Yeah. What year was that?
You're testing me. 20. I'm going to say 2017. I think 2016 or 2017. I think it was.
So was it a Saturday or a Sunday you played the game?
Good question, mate. I
want to know the build up, mate. I want to know that feeling of like.
Saturday. We went down a couple of days. We went down a couple of days before. We trained. We trained down in Hertfordshire, and then we stayed over at Sopwell House, which is like one of the best hotels in the country in St Albans. I think we did 2 nights there, and then so I think we went down 2 days before, trained twice, and then we played the game. We went to Wembley before the match, the day before the game, just to get a feel for Wembley. I just remember it being red hot. And I remember going out for the game. They had all the fireworks in that. Mate, you couldn't breathe. It was so warm. It was already a warm day. It's the middle of May. And then they had fireworks in there. It's like, oh, my God, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then also I played that game with a hamstring strain because I wasn't missing that game. There's a funny story for this. So in the game before we beat Luton away, we beat them at home and away. And I didn't play the second game because I'd felt my hamstring the weekend before. And it was a midweek game, and then we won the game. We won it last couple of minutes of the game, and me and a couple of boys in the stands. We were Luton, you're down, so we were sat with the fans, and you're kind of down below the pitch. And then when the final whistle went, we've all tried to run up and go up. And as I've tried to run up and jump over onto the pitch, 100% I made my hamstring worse. 100% I felt 100%. So I'm now trying to keep this trim. And it was never meant to be. I was only meant to be missing a couple of days, and I was back in training, and I ended up getting through it. And I went into the game with probably like a grade 1 hamstring tear, and you can probably see in my performance if you ever watched the game back. I weren't moving very well, but I was delighted to get the win. And it's important for me to play that game because where I live in London, where I grew up in London, we have I had a park, and it's a high vantage point. And I used to go to look at Wembley. So whenever I was ever struggling or ever had a bad day, I'd just go and sit up and stare at Wembley. So when I had my chance to get there, I know it was quite selfish and I wouldn't recommend it now. But I wasn't missing that for love nor money.
Oh, mate, that's special. So how did the game go? What was the score?
We went 1-0 up early doors with, I think it was Potsy. We went 1-0 up early doors. Then they equalised just before half time. And then second half, Danzy, we had a guy, Neil Danzy, just ran the show. He's playing for Liverpool now. just ran the show, just won us the game. And we had Super Mark Cullen who put it in the back of the net, and he'd been on fire for like the last 2 months of the season. He could not stop scoring, and him and Danzy, obviously it's a team sport, but Cully, he scored a hat-trick against Luton. He got us promoted, and we had such a good team spirit, so it was all just buzzing. But yeah, it was they had a really good team. I'd say Ollie Watkins got his move to Brentford after that, but they were a good team. They played really good football, but I think it was just a bit too much on the day.
Good celebration night out after it.
It was very good. Yeah, it was very good. Yeah.
So I'm really interested in how you came over to the States. You were the last club you were at was Cheltenham, right, in England?
Yes. Yeah.
And then how'd you end up at San Diego?
Okay, so Charlie's my best friend in football. Obviously, he's in my youth team. I have come over to America to see him every year. If I can, I'll always try and train with his club if they allow me to. San Diego allowed me to, and I was out of contract at the time anyway. But I was very close to signing for Bolton, and then training after us. I think I did 2 weeks. Landon offered me a contract, and I wasn't interested at first. I still wanted to sign for Bolton, but then they started dragging their heels, and it started dragging on. And I thought, you know what, I could do this. I was just going to play to the end of that season, and that obviously season finishes in October, November time, and then I was going to come back to England. So literally, I was going to be out of England for 6 months. Anyway, it didn't happen. Couldn't get a visa because of COVID, and then signed for Cheltenham, but really late. So I signed a couple of weeks into that season, so I could never really get going. Kept on breaking down with injuries. Weren't really enjoying my football because I wasn't really enjoying it from Fleetwood anyway. When I'd finished my loan at Fleetwood, and then my agent at the time committed suicide, and then that was when for me, things changed. Life's too short. Wasn't happy. Wasn't enjoying my life. Wasn't enjoying football. So I thought I've got to try something new here. And then Landon was still on the phone to me trying to get me to sign before the start of the new season. So I met with Landon. To be fair, Michael Duff at Cheltenham was unbelievable. He understood. He didn't have to let me go. The club didn't have to let me go for nothing. They really didn't have to do that. But they were amazing, and I still thank them to today and everyone involved in that. They were excellent and just said, look, all right, we understand. Look, you're not happy. There's no point in us keeping you here if you're not happy. They ripped up my contract, and then a couple of weeks later I flew out to San Diego, and that was that.
Well, I remember you coming out with Chaz, and then you training with us, and I remember us as players were like, oh yeah, we want to sign him. And then when you went and signed back with Cheltenham, I remember Landon Donovan was coming up to me and Charlie every other week. Oh, Vassell scored. Oh, watching Vass this morning, and he was just desperate to get you back over.
Yeah.
And so when you came back to San Diego and you officially signed, were you going in with it? Bit of an expectation, like it's going to be easy? Like what did you think the level was going to be like? And then what was your actual experience? How did you find it?
Well, no, I didn't think it would be easy because I trained with you boys and I knew the level. I knew that you boys are serious footballers. Like, I knew that it's not a Mickey Mouse. It's not. There's nothing to be underestimated about this league. I think what I struggled with at first is kind of the way we played as a team. So this comes from Nate. Obviously, Nate he wanted to play total football with all different types of messages on how we play and how we pass. Was kind of, I played for teams that have structure, but in England it's a lot more free flowing. It's a lot more random in England, and I struggled with that side of things, more the tactical side of things. But once I'd and I have to be honest, like some of the altitude. So when we had our first game in Phoenix, oh Lord, that was tough. I come off at half time, so I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
But no, I honestly knew. I thought I would do well, which I did. But no, I didn't. I wasn't complacent about it. I knew I needed to work hard, and I knew I needed to still be at my best to kind of to achieve what I wanted to achieve. Which, to be honest, was to get into the MLS. I made the move over because I had ambitions of trying to get into the MLS, which unfortunately didn't work out. But I'm so happy I did it, and I took the risk and I came over and played because it was honestly one of the best years of my life.
Yeah. I mean, what a place to live.
Yeah. And we had such a good team, and the frustrating things that we didn't win the whole thing. Our team was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that's my only frustration. And my only thing about that whole time is that we didn't win the whole thing because we should have done.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were at San Diego and I mean, you had a successful year, you were scoring goals, and the MLS opportunity didn't come. What was then your target shift was then to try and get back to England, was it? And try and get back to
Yeah, close to home. So obviously, look, I've got my missus came over with me, and she was back and forth, and it's tough. Like, it is really tough being away. I take my hat off to all the boys who have gone over and made a life for themselves in America. It is really, really hard to be away from family, especially you with kids, mate. I take my hat off to you, honestly, do. Because even here in Scotland, where it's just fair enough. It's a 7-hour drive back home, but it's only an hour flight. We struggle not being with family. So I genuinely take my hat off to you boys. But yeah, it was more. So what was the question again, bro?
Well, I was kind of saying, like, when you were at San Diego, when you'd left there.
That was about what I was wanting to do. Yeah,
Yeah, your shift moved back to Europe.
Yeah. So it was. So yeah. So we were a bit homesick. However, obviously football comes first. So if the opportunity came anywhere in America, no matter where it was in the MLS, we were signing. We'd agreed. No matter what the money was, no matter what anything was, all I wanted was an opportunity to prove myself in the MLS, because I knew that I'd have a good season, and then if I had to take whatever salary, like a entry level salary, I'll earn myself a half decent salary. But so the opportunity didn't come. So then it was then okay. Can we be close to home? But then I had offers literally on the doorstep. But this had the most appeal just because of I hadn't tried it. Get to play against the old firm a couple of times a season. And I knew that the international manager was based up here. So I knew we'd be at a lot of games, and I wanted to get back in the Northern Ireland squad. So this was the most attractive option for that reason, to come up here. And I didn't really want to play on the AstroTurf pitch because we've got an AstroTurf pitch. Yeah. But to be honest, once I've been in it now for nearly 2 years, it's been fine. It's a bit tough on the joints, but yeah. So we wanted to get as close to home as possible. But then when the actual offers started coming in, I did still choose a football-related option, which was up here.
So the Northern Ireland International, mate, that's a huge achievement in footy. How did that come about?
Yeah, from Blackpool. So when I was at Blackpool, I met the manager. He told me he wanted to get me involved ASAP, and then he tried to get me involved in the next squad. But I was already in America. I was in Utah when Chaz was at Monarchs. I was already there, and I was, to be honest, was that just after? No, that wasn't just after Wembley. No, yeah, I couldn't get back, and I was still a bit sore from the season, so I couldn't do it. But ended up getting my move to Rotherham, and then the first international, I was called up, and then I was in the first couple of camps, played a couple of games, played against Austria, played against Bosnia, great experiences, played against some great players. So yeah.
What was harder, football wise? Representing Northern Ireland in those matches, or playing Europa League with Kilmarnock level-wise? What was more difficult?
The international ones, because you're not seeing the ball. You're playing against, even though it's Bosnia, you're playing against Pjanic. He didn't give the ball away and didn't pass backwards or sideways once. He did not give the ball away. And I was on the bench that game, and our player cammed him, and then Edin Dzeko was there as well. But Pjanic is the best player I have ever seen with my eyes in a game of football.
Really?
I've watched PSG, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. So that's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is, a game I've been involved in. He's the best player I ever played against. By a country.
What was he doing? What was he doing?
Blake's nothing. Just didn't give the ball away, and every pass was forward. He's not just one of the midfielders who just keeps the ball for the sake of keeping the ball. Don't just pass it sideways. Everything was a shimmy, pass forward. Striker's feet, Dzeko's feet, round the corner, whatever. He was the country mile, the best player I've ever played against. Wow. The game's so easy for him. Yeah, it was scandalous. So yeah, because you're not seeing the ball, you're not touching the ball, and if you give the ball away, you're not seeing it again for 5 minutes. The Europa League, I've got to say, the Bruges game was even. We could have beat them. Should have beat them. Yeah. Beat Tromso. They were a really good footballing team. Their keeper dribbled the ball up to the halfway line. Like, they were total football. They were a bit like the San Diego team we played in. Right. Where it was like, the keeper had to be on a different line to the centre back, and I was pressing the keeper at the halfway line.
That's mad.
We played against Copenhagen, and Copenhagen, look, are a great team. They They had a great couple of seasons gone past, but they weren't. We were in it. We had them rattled at home. We drew them at home, but we could have beat them, and we could have won the tie. So yeah, definitely international against more the Bosnia team. The Austria team was good, but the Bosnia team, Pjanic, wow.
So when you obviously making club history with the Europa League, when you were going to play against, say, Bruges, Copenhagen, these teams, is your gaffer very detailed in like video analysis? Like, how did you prepare for these games? Because it's not like you're playing Rangers, Celtic, you're playing against these teams every year. Like, you're playing against teams you've never played against before. Like, how's the scouting for that?
Yeah, they worked hard, to be fair. Yeah, it was a lot deeper in video analysis than we'd normally do, because as you say, there's most teams in this league, we know what they're going to be. Yeah. So the meetings don't need to be that long. But against these teams, they were quite long. To be honest, the shortest one was Copenhagen, because we knew they were going to be good. And it didn't really matter what we did, because they found answers. They always find answers, and their kind of philosophy was just keeping the ball, and they did it in different ways. Whereas like Bruges had a clear way of playing. We're quite a direct team. We're a very direct team. Bruges were more direct than us, which was crazy to think that, because you obviously think European football, everyone plays really good football and gets the ball down. They were more direct than us, and Tromsø were total football. Like, I've never seen anything like it type of football. The keeper was literally like wrapping the ball into the striker's feet from the halfway line. We did, but we knew what we needed to do to kind of win both games. Unfortunately, we didn't do it against Bruges, but we did do it against Tromsø.
Do you think your experiences in America with the San Diego, with the travel that we have to do do you think that helped you in the Europa League?
Do you know what? Without even thinking about it, probably. Yeah. But the thing that was tough with Europa League, mate, is that we were Saturday, Tuesday.
Yeah,
or Saturday, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday. It was tough. So physically, it was tough. The first couple of games where you're just running on adrenaline, amazing. But by the time we got to Copenhagen, the boys were drained.
Yeah,
the boys were really, really, really drained. And then we're not getting any days off because we have to be in to recover. So it's tough. But yeah, I guess it weren't that far, mate. It weren't that far. I travelled further in England. Travelling from when I was at, for example, I don't know, Dagenham, and we played against Morecambe. That travel was further. We were getting chartered flight. We're 20 minutes from an airport. We were getting chartered flights, so it weren't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Right. So, but we've got about 5-10 minutes left, mate. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I want to hear like who your favorite manager was in your career, or any like funny stories about managers. Like,
I've honestly, mate, I've got something I've learned from all of them. Like, unbelievable things from all of them. The first one was Fergie, the most standards-driven manager I've ever seen. So, for example, if we did a passing drill in the morning, and if there was balls going astray, so if there was a couple of misplaced passes, he would finish training. Everyone goes inside. We sit inside for 2 hours. We come back out and train in the afternoon, just to ruin everyone's day. So boys who've got the kids, who've got to do school runs. So it's a standard. You weren't allowed to make mistakes. Just drove standards like that. And I learned so much from that. Graham Wesley was like
where
crazy.
were you, Wesley? Which team was that?
Peterborough.
Peterborough,
right? Sack, and then we had Wesley. Wesley was brilliant for me. But there's a story. So Wesley likes to get his teams fired up. That's how his teams are high energy, high aggression. That's his style of football. And we got a boy, one of my mates, Harry Buteman. We were playing Port Vale away, and he played centre mid, and he was going against Michael Brown that day. And Michael Brown's notoriously like horrible to play against, like horrible player to play against. And Harry's on his side, like foam rolling, doing his IT band, so he's on his side like that. And Wesley's just gone over and levered him in the ribs and gone, "That's what you're getting today, so you better be ready." I'm like, what?
Like, kicked him in the ribs?
Mate, could have broken a rib. Blakey could have broken a rib. Easily broke. I don't know how Harry's not gone over and like come to the physio. He just got on with it. But like, honestly, mate, I'm there holding my head like what, and I caught eyes of some. Not many boys saw it, but I caught eyes of boys, and we were just like, what has just happened here? What has just happened? Yeah. But that's how he would run his teams. That's how he was high aggression, high energy. His teams are all just workaholics. Bowles, Gary Bowyer at Brentford really gave me my chance. He's the first manager in press football just to play me. Yeah. And I had a fantastic relationship with him. I still do to today. Great with him. And then Simon Grayson, when I went to Peterborough and Warney, he was brilliant. He's at Derby now. It just didn't work out. Just the way he sees football, the way I want to play football. By this stage, I wanted to come and play like a 9.5, link up the ball like I did in San Diego. Yeah. We were the long. That is the most. There was a stat at the time. We were the top 3 teams in the world for long passes in the world. In the big divisions in the world. Yeah. We were top 3 of all. So, and that weren't me. And we had a boy, Michael Smith, who's an unbelievable striker. Was just his boy. Everything, flick-ons, everything. Yeah. So it didn't really work out. Went to Fleetwood, on loan at Fleetwood, Simon Grayson. We did forward catch on Fridays. We did 5-0s, and I wasn't allowed to take more than 2 touch. That was a barrel of laughs. That was terrible. Michael Duff at Cheltenham was excellent. An unbelievable manager in terms of, and his details are excellent. And then here with the gaffer. And then obviously come over there, play for London. That was brilliant. Great experience. Yeah. And then here, this gaffer's been brilliant with me. He's kind of moved me to my next level of my life and my career. And I get on really well with him. And he's been excellent for me, bringing the confidence back in me and my best football.
So what was it like at Peterborough with you told me about a story you had with the chairman?
Yeah, Peterborough was great, mate. But I was never really meant to play there. The chairman sort of picks the team. And this is what the chairman thought of me. So we was away on pre-season in Ireland. We just signed Jack Collison from West Ham. Yeah. And me and him got off the bus and we were like going to walk around the front of the bus to the shop. I think we played a pre-season game. We was getting like fish and chips after the game or whatever. And Chairman's getting off the bus so we can see that side where the cars coming and Jack's going first. He's like, no, Jack, no, too valuable. Let the other one go first. Like, oh, mate, chin up. That's the chairman, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what he thought of me. You didn't mind me getting hit by a car. To save Jack Collison. So yeah.
So yeah, your times in England, like when you were growing up in the academy, obviously the banter is a good level in England. Were there any stories back in England in the academy days that stand out for you?
The only one I can probably tell you is so a few of us got together and we got like a burner phone with a SIM and we started messaging one of the boys pretending to be a bird, and it's gone on for I think about 6 weeks, and by this stage we're in a full-on relationship. Like this, one of my teammates thinks in a full-on relationship, and it's us. We just got a fake picture of that, and we're sending him fake pictures. And then, mate, when it's come out, and like we've told him, crumbled. You've never seen him since. Never seen him since, mate. Like it just went under. That's probably the only one I can tell you. I've got loads of stories, but probably not for a different time, a different place.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, mate, congratulations on the second kid on the way. So what's it been like, mate, having a kid? I know, obviously, for me, it's been so special, but your missus came over. She's been with you every step of the way. Then you go back to the UK. Like, that must be the best thing ever.
It's the best thing ever, mate. It just puts life and everything into perspective. As I said, like, so we had a kid last year. But like when I said football came first, so like we said, look, we're going to still be. We didn't have any kids. She wasn't pregnant by this stage, but since that day, everything changes. Football comes second. Don't get me wrong. I still work my hardest and I still want to do the best, but your priorities completely change. It's amazing. It's say the word is special. So yeah, I can't wait for the next one. We don't know what it is. We're not finding out, but either way, I'll be delighted.
When's the due date?
It's December 21st.
Oh,
and her birthday is December 17th.
Oh,
so
hey, that's a packed schedule, mate. That's a packed football schedule, that, mate. Man, on the side of the pitch.
Expensive month. I'm not worried about football. I'm worried about the rest of my life. Taking out loans in December.
Oh, that's bro. Oh, mate. Seriously, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. You guys playing Rangers this weekend, right?
Rangers on Sunday. Yeah.
Big game.
Yeah. Well, they don't like playing us, so hopefully we'll get a good result.
Wish you all the best for this weekend, mate. Thanks again for coming on the show. It's been a fun one, mate.
Pleasure. Anytime. Cheers, Blakes.
All right, brother.
Cheers, mate.
This is In the Loop with Jack Blake, an Indy 11 podcast. Be sure to like and follow this podcast and check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network. To watch the video of this podcast, subscribe to the Indy 11 YouTube channel.